it is Debbie De Grote, and welcome to our very exciting webinar today. We have a super awesome guest. I have actually known our guest, David Lawson, for, oh, David, dare we say how many years? We go back
Well,
a ways. We go back a ways.
I've been doing this 27 years, and I think I did it for a few weeks before I met you.
I think so. So if any of you, as we get to know David, you can look him up. It's David Lawson. They are in Park City, Utah. Fantastic team. And David, actually, when I launched, I used to coach David years ago. And then when I launched Forward Coaching, David was actually one of my first coaches on staff. And I sadly lost him because he got so busy in his real estate business. He did not have time to work with me any longer, but we've stayed great friends. And I feel that he and his team have really come up with an incredibly special, unique approach when it comes to winning relationships with buyers, cementing that loyalty, and also getting them off the fence and moving them through the pipeline very, very quickly. So David, I don't want to take up a lot of your time today. They hear me all the time, but I'm going to
Okay.
hang out here with you. And I think Drew is behind the scenes and has a slide deck to pop up for us. And I just want to say right up front, being a coach that speaks with people all across the country, I'm always hyper aware of the disclaimers of every state is different. The rules and regulations around buyer agreements and how those are handled have all these slightly different nuances. David's aware of that. He is going to be careful, but
Yes.
don't freak out if he happens to say something and you think, well, that's only in Utah. No
Yes.
worries, right? Just look for the bigger, deeper context here. We are recording because he's got a lot of great dialogue and tips and he's going to go pretty quickly. You
Yes.
can type questions in the chat box. I will keep eyes on that. I think we'll let David roll a little and then we'll go over to the chat. And yeah, you don't have to do anything to get a copy of the recording. We'll be sending that to you right away. So, David, just so they get to know you better, why don't you give them like a quick 60 seconds of, you know, team, production, anything you think they need to know. And then also, if they happen to have a referral or question for you, how do they find you?
All right. Well, I'm David Lawson. I'm the owner, founder of the Lawson Real Estate Team. Um, we're on track right now to do about $360 million of real estate this year, 300 transactions. We're actually 8 transactions behind our goal right now, but we're catching up. Um, I've been in the business. I've done lots of other businesses, but really full time in the real estate business for 27 years. We have a team and it's grown pretty significantly. We're at about 32 agents right now. I'm sorry, 34 agents right now, and then we have 6 staff. And we're pretty proud that we just broke $2 billion in sales in the last few months as a team. So, but I can tell you it's not me, it's our entire team. It's how we train, it's how we help, it's how we collaborate with people, how we, sorry, Debbie, I'm gonna blame a lot of our success on you because we would never be where we were if it weren't for you and coaching our team back in 2000, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it was. And we really focus on our clients doing. We have 5 core values: doing the right thing and being coachable and trainable. And we expect a lot out of our agents. And the reason why is we want to give our buyers and sellers and investors the highest level of service that we possibly can. And what we're going to do in this training is I'm going to show you what we've done. And you guys, if you happen to, this is the first time you've ever been on a webinar with me, I can tell you this one has made me more money than anything else I've ever done. So,
Good.
yeah,
So we've got a deck. You guys popping that up for us? There we go. And
yeah.
so, David, I want to just take a quick second to say, if you look at the title, you can see exactly where we're going to go with this because they are all about education of the buyer, right? So it's not about fancy pitches or high pressure or beating the buyer up with how many homes they've sold, which quite frankly, buyers don't care that much about that. But it's more about if the buyer is educated, a lot of the fear and hesitation goes away. If they can see a clear path that lifts them up above the worry of what's going on in today's market, not all of them will convert. However, many of them will, and then they become clients for life and send lots of referrals. So, David, out of your 300 plus units last year, what percentage of those were buyers?
I, Debbie, I used to be between 80 and 85% listings. And when we put this into place many years ago, we're probably now around 60% buyers. We have really flipped it.
Okay, great.
Um, Especially when inventory got really tough, back during COVID and all that. We always try to be moving with the market, right? The market's the market. We can't control the market, but we can control what we do. And this system that I'm going to show you is going to show you what we did and how we did it and how you can R&D it, right?
Okay, rip off and duplicate.
That's right.
All right, so fire away.
All right. So it was, Debbie, really, it was about 11 years ago that we started building something that has really increased the business. We were the very first Zillow Flex or yeah, Flex partner in the state of Utah. And because of that, we kept trying to tweak everything. They had their system, we had our system. We took the two systems, put it together. And over the last 11 years, now you're going to see what we have done. And what we've done and what I'm going to show you, this is, like I said, it's increased my business more than any other training or program we've ever done here at the Lawson Real Estate Team. And by the way, we're Salt Lake and we're Park City. So sometimes I say we're apples and pineapples.
Mhm.
So we are dealing with first-time home buyers. We're dealing with pretty sophisticated people. We're doing ultra luxury, So we've sold a house properties way under $100,000, and our most expensive is $32 million.
So does this only work in certain price ranges, or does this work across the board with every buyer you work with?
Um, we modify it but you'll be surprised when you're working with somebody that's bought 5 or 10 homes. Then when we get to the question I'm going to ask you about wealth building,
Mhm.
you're going to see that it can work with pretty much everybody. Now, we obviously modify it, right?
Okay,
And when I get to the wealth building, I purposely did not ever show you or tell you because I'm going to do a short role play with you, Debbie. And when
okay,
I'm done with this role play, I bet you're going to call me up and say you want to buy a house. Fair enough? How's that for expectation?
fair enough.
Okay, so we call this our 3X buyer conversion. So it's 3 homes, you have 3 jobs, you're going to get 3 times the transactions, and you're going to make 3 times the income. And guess what, gang? You're going to get 3 times the referrals as well. That's the whole program and training that we're going to show you. And by the way, to give you an idea of how well this is working, and this isn't bragging, I'm just applying for the job, I like to say. This morning, I went in and I looked at our under contracts, just our buyer sides. We have 43 buyer sides under contract as of today for $59.1 million. Now,
Oh,
this
and you
is
say under contract, you mean pended.
pending.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, pending sales today. And this does not include all the listings that we have under contract today as well.
Okay.
So, gang, buckle up. Let's take some great notes and let's get after it.
Okay.
So, I'm going to start a little bit here on when you really don't have a relationship with a buyer and you want to get them to commit to using you, right? So I'm going to ask the audience, and if you want, you can put it in the chat. If you get a buyer, especially if it's like an internet lead, put in the chat how many homes did you show that person on their first appointment? Okay. How
Okay.
many did you show? How often did you show one home? Maybe two, maybe more. And then do you have an entire sales process that you follow every time? Debbie and I, we've taught if you go on a listing appointment, should you have a process? Should you do it every time? The answer is clearly yes. The problem is not very many buyers do that.
Mhm.
So here's the problem. And I'm not going to be looking at the chat, but I bet you a lot of people
A
when you,
lot of ones. We had a couple threes, a lot of ones, and our
okay,
name, yes, he's talking about on the first appointment.
yeah. And here's the problem, gang. When you show one home, the only thing that the buyer learns is what you think of that one property. They learn, you don't have time to get them to learn about you, to learn about your process. And they really don't have a reason to pick you over the next agent who opens the door. I use this example. You show a house, you walk in, and the people are allergic to cats, and they walk in, and the house smells like cat pee. And
Mhm.
what do they want to do? They want to leave, and they thank you on the way out. You say goodbye, and they never talk to you, right?
Mhm.
But three homes is a completely different animal, or more. You can show more than three. But it's the same showing, it's the same amount of gas almost, it's the same hours of prep. But now with our process, you're going to learn the process. You're going to see how wealth actually gets built in America, and you're going to present that to your clients. And when they're done, you're going to have a buyer's agent agreement before they get back in the car. And by the way, we know that we have a showing, um, an agreement just to show a property. So if we don't really know them, we get them in the house and you got to follow all the rules and all that whatnot, right?
So, David, Judy is bringing up a great question. With such limited inventory, it may be hard to find more than one home. And when that happens to your agents, what do you advise them to do? If there's only one, like a really strong match, do you go a little bit outside their parameters?
Yes.
And do you do
You
that with their permission? Because
Yes,
to
we
Judy,
always we always tell them, I like to use this. So
mhm,
Debbie, when I meet you today, I'm going to show you 123 Main Street, but there's a couple other homes in the neighborhood or the area or our area that you should see just so you can be the most informed buyer. Now, some of these might be a little bit above or below your price range or outside, but I want you to have some things to compare.
okay,
Fair
perfect.
enough?
Mhm,
Okay.
fair enough.
So, and by the way, after the presentation, we're leaving time for Q&A, so we can do that as well, however you want to operate this,
That's
Debbie.
fine.
Okay. So then the next thing you do is you deliver the three questions word for word, right?
Okay.
So, and essentially in about 15 seconds, you're going to understand this, right? So you're going to ask the three questions and you're going to do it in this whole process, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you, Debbie, has anyone ever sat down with you and shown you the exact process, like from A to Z, how to buy a home? How the vast majority of all Americans build wealth in America? And also how we can show you how to get cash buyer pricing, even though you mentioned you're going to get a loan.
No, no, I've never
Every,
mentioned any
right.
of those.
Everyone says that. So that's sort of the whole thing is around that one statement, right?
So, David, and I know they can access this recording later and write them down, but can you say those three questions one more time?
Sure. Debbie, Has anyone ever sat down with you and shown you, like from A to Z, how to buy a home? Okay.
No,
Has anyone ever sat down with you and shown you how the vast majority of all Americans build wealth in America?
you mean as far as a realtor? No.
No.
Mm,
Well, or, the vast majority of all Americans build their wealth through real estate. Okay. And I'm going to show you how that works. And lastly, you mentioned you were going to get a loan. Is that right?
yes.
Has anyone shown you a way that we can help you get cash buyer pricing? In other words, we can compete with cash buyers even though you're getting a loan?
No, but that would be great. And by the way, David, Jenny just brought up something great at open house as well,
Oh,
right? Great
yeah,
at open houses. You're meeting your buyers.
yes.
Mhm,
And there's a lot more to this, and when you get through it, you'll see it.
mhm.
But so we go to this framework. We call it three homes, three jobs, right? And this is slide number 4, I believe. So there's a method. Every home you show that day has one job, but the jobs are different, right? So
Right.
home number 1, you're going to build rapport, right? Now, we all know how to do some level of that, right? And this is what all agents already do. They get to know them, they ask great questions. But the difference between what they're doing, maybe what you're doing, and what we're doing is we're doing it on purpose, knowing what comes next. The second home, our job is to educate. This is where we're going to bring our buyer's guide, which I'm going to share with you. And we're going to walk you through, Debbie. You mentioned, or I mentioned, I promised you that I was going to show you how to buy a home, like the whole process from A to Z. And then in the third home, what I'm going to do, Debbie, is I'm going to show you the Lawson Team Wealth Building Tool. By the way, notice how I named it. It can be the forward coaching, it can be the, you know, whatever your name of your
Yeah.
company or the
Um,
Joe's Wealth Building Tool and so on. And
so when you
see,
say you bring out the buyer's guide or you bring out so do you physically sit down in that home,
yeah,
assuming the owner is not there, and you go through that with them
I,
in the home?
we're getting there in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So the other thing, gang, write this down. Rapport, educate, convert. You have to do all three and you have to do them in order. The order matters more than any single piece of this,
Yes.
right? Debbie, nobody takes financial advice from an agent or an advisor that they met 4 minutes ago. No
Right.
way, right? You got to build rapport. Rapport buys you the right to educate. And then educating buys you the right to convert. And
Mhm.
when you can convert, that's how you get them to choose you. And I call that's money, baby. All right. So you want to see the questions? Here they are. Might want to, if you didn't get a time to, just take your phone out and you can write down these are the questions, Debbie. And um, so I'm going to ask you the question all at one time, and this will be a really quick. I didn't want to prepare you to role play, Debbie, because I want you to be you're the buyer and you don't know any of this, right? So, Debbie, has anybody ever sat down with you, shown you the exact process, like from A to Z, how to buy a property, or shown you how the vast majority of Americans build wealth in America? Or since you're getting a loan, have they ever shown you how you can get cash buyer pricing even though you're getting a loan?
No.
And only 100% of the people say no to that, right?
Right.
Nobody has said, "Oh, I know what you're talking about." And then I say, "You're kidding." Well, Debbie, I believe this is like critical information that every buyer needs in order to make the most informed decision on the biggest financial decision of their life. And that's exactly what I'm going to do for you when you choose to work with me as your exclusive buyer's agent. And by the way, sometimes you have this conversation when you're setting the appointment. Sometimes you are doing it when they're in the car and you're driving there. Sometimes you're meeting a client at a home for the first time. So you do this. That's when you do it in person. You do it before you actually walk in the door.
So it's like step one, right?
Yes.
Setting the stage, basically.
But think about what I just did, Debbie. Three phases carry it all. What is it? Do you want to know the exact process from A to Z to buy a home? Do I have your curiosity? You've never seen this, and you've done this a long time. You've probably never seen this, Debbie. Are you interested in how the vast majority of Americans build wealth through real estate?
Absolutely.
And do I have your attention? I mean, over the last several years, the buyers out there, what do they think about those cash buyers?
They think it's hard to compete. They
It's
do.
hard to compete. Right. So now I've solved all those things. Believe me, I have your interest level like nobody ever has. And notice what those three things do. Okay. So what do they not do, Debbie? I am not selling you anything,
Right.
right? What I'm doing is with this, I open a gap between like what the buyer knows and what Debbie De Grote now suddenly wants to know. And guess what? Remember, Debbie, when we started we had our book, our MLS book, and if they wanted to go and see a house, they had to come to us because we had the book and nobody else had it. Well, now we have something that nobody else has that everybody wants. They just don't know they want it because they've never heard of it. Okay. So next, so what do? We go to the first house. And what do we do, Debbie, at the first house? You build
Rapport.
rapport. Now, and we do that. Now we go to the second house. And at the second house, this is where I'm going to start sharing my screen if you allow me. Um, Drew. Oh, never mind. Here it is. I'm going to share my screen.
Drew is like the Wizard of Oz in the background.
Okay. So you see this Lawson Team EXP Place resources, right? Do you see that?
You,
Okay. So what you do is you just go down, you go to our buyer's guide. So, Debbie, we're going to do a really quick role play now. This is not how we actually do it because we don't have time, but I want you guys to understand how training and showing the client from A to Z how to buy a house. And if you have agents that work for you or you've never done this with a buyer's guide, and I know you all have a listing presentation, I hope you have a buyer's guide in your buyer's guide. If you don't have some of this, you should. But I don't want to get into that, but I want to show you really quickly.
David, as we're doing that, Judy brought up a great point. The Laguna Beach market because David also has
Oh,
a not far from here, Judy. And so, yes, Laguna Beach, like high end Park City, like Newport Beach, I mean, sophisticated markets, potentially not a first time buyer, obviously. And Judy, if you notice, David said you could adapt it. So, on that first question, it could, I suppose, David, even be something like, has anyone recently shown what today's current process to buy a home looks like? Because if this buyer bought a home 10 years ago, well, things have changed, right?
oh,
Um,
so true.
and I
Well,
think the second question, would you be excited about some tips or thoughts about how to fast track your wealth through real estate at a higher level? Like, I think, Judy, if you took those core questions and said, as David said, adjust a little to who is that person in front of you, because they might be a luxury buyer coming from a different state. And then you could say in Southern California, right?
yes.
Because every state has different rules and different inspections and construction. So yeah, guys, just think about that. You take the base and adjust it a little bit depending on the caliber of that buyer.
Well, and I'm getting off track a little bit, but to answer your question, what was her name?
Judy.
Judy. We don't have a listing presentation. We have five. We
Mhm.
have one for Salt Lake. We have one for Park City normal. We have one for luxury properties. We do hunt thousands of deals in the canyons, the ski resort canyons and Park City Resort. We have one for that. And then we have one that is ultra luxury. Where we went on an appointment that we use that, and it's in the Colony, and it's going to be around $28 million. And we show in that we're showing off our homes that we sold for 14, 15, 20, $32 million, right? So when I say this is a concept, it works the best on first time or second time buyers. It works really well on people that have bought two or three or five homes. And on the people in Park City that come, that, they can buy half of the city because they're billionaires. Some of this still works with them.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the buyer's guide. Okay. Um, and so and I'm going to go through this super quick, Debbie. So Debbie, I just want you to understand a little bit about the Lawson team, who we are and what we do. And here's our commitment to you that we're always going to look out for your best interest, that we're about you. You're our client. We have full-time staff. We will search on and off market properties. We're going to communicate with you. We're going to help you make informed. We're going to do all that for you, right? And then you may have heard with the lawsuit about understanding buyer representation. I'm going to go over that a little bit. We're going to talk about working, Debbie, about working with us and an exclusive buyer's agent, why that's so much better than ever even considering working with the listing agent, and so on. Then we're going to go through the whole buyer's process, determining your goals, pre-approval, home search, writing an offer, due diligence, financing appraisal, final steps, right? And now each one of these is a page. Here's determining your goals. And then we're going to ask you, oops, I always do that. Sorry. We're going to ask you, here's some sample questions because, gang, do not talk about you, talk about them. Ask questions about them. They all listen to the same radio station, WIFN. What's in it for me? What's in it for them? Okay. Then you go through pre-approval and the advantage of pre-approval. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but Debbie, I mentioned that how we get you cash buyer pricing is we get you pre-approved, and through some of the lenders that we use, we can get you a loan in anywhere between 12 and 15 days. Most cash buyers don't. So what we do is when we write an offer, if you're ready to go and we get you pre-approved, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. We have a whole program on teaching that, but that's how you do it. So if we get you pre-approved with a lender and all that, and we have some extra bonus for you at the end.
And David, very quickly, just to emphasize here, think about it this way, guys. They don't love that pre-approval process, meet with the lender. It's boring. When you go to look for a new car, you don't want to walk right in and meet with the finance manager. You want to sit in the car and drive it.
Yes.
However, what David's way of explaining it does is it makes them understand this step is crucial to do in the beginning because it's going to give you that negotiation power. So now it moves it from something irritating, annoying, can't I put that off, to something that is really much more urgent if I plan to compete as a cash buyer.
Perfect. Yes. And then we talk about here's the do's, here's the don'ts, Debbie. Don't go buy a boat, don't go buy furniture, make sure you're communicating with us. And then guiding your search. Everybody, put your extra set. You got two ears, listen with both of them right now. Because I don't want, so Debbie's my agent. And I'm going to say, Debbie, guess what? I went into an open house, or I found this for sale by owner, or I went into this new construction, Debbie, and you're going to be so happy for me. I bought a house on Saturday, but I really appreciate what you've done for me, and we're gonna have you over for a barbecue,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
So we have to present up front, right? So Debbie, if you go to an open house or for sell by own or new construction, and by the way, if you're going out and you're looking around on Saturday, I want to be with you. But if I'm not, when you walk in the door, the first thing you say is, Debbie, I want you to say, I'm working with David Lawson with the Lawson Real Estate team. If you present this up front, it has significantly reduced that favorite call we used to all get, right? Ha ha. Okay, off market and quiet sell program. We talk about, since we've sold 4,082 homes, we got it, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go into that, but there's some benefits to talking to buyers about how you can find them a home that nobody else has.
well, and David, your team very proactively outbound lead generates every day.
Yes,
Those here that do that, I can tell you that that's not typical, right? And so to be able to say we do something incredibly proactive, including all the normal channels to find a home, we will actually get on the phone and really direct reach out to potential homeowners. And David, I'm sure you guys can also say, because of the amount of listings our team takes, we often have things in the pipeline. They may not
yes,
want to be on the public market, or their home is being prepared for launch.
right.
Right.
Well, and we proactively say, Debbie, you mentioned you're not going to sell because your son is graduating from high school in next June, right? But could I put you on our program in case a buyer came? And by the way, as of Tuesday of this week, we had 241 people on this. But I don't want to spend time with that too much, knowing that if you have, it doesn't matter if you have four homes, if you mention, I'm going to try to help you find that, that's an added thing. Then we talk a little bit about due diligence, seller disclosure, home inspections, homeowners insurance. We have a QR code that they can hit for buyer due diligence in Utah. Now, this is Utah specific. You'll all want to do this in your own space. Then we talk about financing and appraisals, closing costs, final steps, settlement, and so on. Then we talk a little bit about the team, and then we talk about a little social proof, right? Okay, so that's the buyer's guide. And the thing is, what you have to understand with the buyers at the second home, I said, at the second home, Debbie, I told you I'm going to show you the exact process that we file, and here it is. And by the way, then you hand this, a hard copy to them that they take away,
Mhm.
right? But you also bring it up, either you bring it up on your computer, laptop, or whatever, or you give it to them and you have a copy for you and them, right? Okay. Then from there,
You spend on that in the second home? How many minutes
I
usually?
love you asked that because I said in my notes, I wrote down 12 pages. You want to lose them for sure, read it. Don't read it, but you need to spend a few minutes going through it. Most of the time, we go through it really fast. But
Okay,
you have to read the room, Debbie. If
right.
somebody is very analytical, you give the client as much or as little time in this, and when they ask you questions, they're giving you the playbook on how to sell them, right? So some buyers might want to spend 5 or 10 minutes on page four, and others, you can go through this whole thing in 4, 5, 6 minutes.
Yeah, especially personality styles, which a lot of us study together.
Yep.
That I am, I would be impatient if you took too long, but
Oh,
I'd be likely to say, why don't you just give me the bottom line? I'll read it in the car and then I'll ask you questions I have later. So it's just, you're
yeah.
right. It's different.
And if you did that, I would just go through each. I'd say, okay, so here's the headlines. Blah 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 blah. Here it is, Debbie. Take it and go take a look. And see, I'd still get to tell you, and there's some things in there that they haven't thought about.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. So based on that, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to gang. This is gonna blow your mind. Okay. So we're going to go to,
And Judy has another great question here. People with security cameras, microphones that are active, would they find it offensive that you're sitting in their home doing this presentation of, and Judy, I don't think so. I'd love to hear David's opinion, but you're not selling them against that property. You're not saying negative things about that property. In fact, I would almost wonder if they're like, wow, this agent is incredibly professional. Gee, my home expired. I'm going to make an, if my home expires, I'm going to make a note to call those people because I don't think there's anything here that would be, to me as a home seller, I would not be offended.
there is nothing. In fact, I just showed this. We got an agent on our team that we just hired. We showed them these two things and the wealth building tool right now. And she said, I'm going to start looking for a house today now that I understand that. She's an agent. She's a little bit younger. She's a great agent. She sold a lot of real estate, but she didn't understand how real estate helps you build wealth, right? But yeah, do not worry about that. The byproduct of that is you might get an expired listing. You might get somebody to understand that you are the most professional real estate agent they've ever met. And if you write an offer with them, they're going to feel confident that you're going to get to the closing table. Everything that could happen on that, in my opinion, is a bonus.
Right.
Okay. So Debbie, have you ever seen this?
No,
Have we role played this?
nope,
Do you even know what we're going to do?
no clue.
Okay, I did that on purpose, gang, because I want you to show how I'm going to present it. Now, I'm going to go a little faster and I'm going to answer some of the questions for you. So, Debbie, I promised you that I was going to show you how the vast majority of Americans build wealth in America, right? So, I want you to understand this. So, the house we're in right now, it's $895,000. And if I could negotiate this down to 850, how would you feel about that?
Well, yeah, that would be good. You think
So
that?
that's my goal. So in here, I'm going to put 850, but if you're in Park City or Laguna Beach, it can be 3.5, right? But we're going to go back here and we're going to use 850. I like to use 850 because in the lower end or the higher end, I like an example in the middle.
Okay.
So Debbie, 850. Have you thought how much money do you want to put down and
10,
percentage?
yeah,
How much?
10%.
10%. By the way, here's 20%. How many of you think that a lot of Americans think they have to put 20% down to buy a house?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is, if you learn this one thing, you will absolutely sell more homes. I tell people, Debbie, oh, you want to put down 10%? Great. Some people think they have to put down 20%. But in reality, we have lenders, we can get you 3% down, 5% down loans. So you always want to present to the buyer that they can get a way lower down payment
If they choose.
if they choose.
So,
Okay. So Debbie, we're going to get you the house. It's 850, 85,000 down, correct?
okay.
Here's your loan amount. Today's interest rate is 6.5. Now, our lenders, we've got a couple of lenders, and as of this morning, they told me that they could get it at six and an eighth right now with some loan programs. Okay, so if I do this, if I go back here to 6.5%, your payment is 48.35, right?
Right.
But if I could get this down to six and an eighth for you and lowered it to 4,600 $48. If I could save you with our lender $187 a month, how would you feel about that?
Sure. Why not?
Great. So let's do it, okay? And then you mentioned you wanted a loan, and I'm assuming, but I shouldn't. You want a 30 year or did you want a 15 year?
I think 30.
Almost all people say that because of the, right? So how much is your monthly payment? And I
40.
make, stop right here, gang. I make the client answer the question. Watch how powerful this is. So how much is your monthly payment?
4648.
Yeah. Now, Debbie, notice this is only principal and interest. Obviously, there's taxes and insurance and sometimes HOA. But for this model, I just wanted to show you a comparison. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay. And then up here, how long do you think you're going to be in this house?
I think we're going to probably be there at least 10 years until the kids are all out of high school.
Okay. So you want to go 10 years?
Hmm?
Okay. We're going to change to 10 years. And by the way, the net, okay, and here's the appreciation rate. Okay. And by the way, the national appreciation rate is 5.37 since 1942. And if you're in the great state of Utah, our average increase since 1975 is 6.61. Now, with the crazy thing, so here's a script. So Debbie, with all the crazy things that are going on, and by the way, I have in down here, here is here is appreciation over the years, and we're going to go over it. But at the end of the day, um, so I asked the client, Debbie, you seem to be kind of like me, that you're kind of conservative, right? I'm kind of conservative right now. And so instead of putting 6.61 in Utah or 5.37, what do you think would be a reasonable interest rate over the next 10 years?
In appreciation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Most of the people they say somewhere between four. The number one answer we get is five.
Okay.
Because if it's 5.37 and five, so let's you say you said five, I go to five, and then I say, but Debbie, let's be even more conservative. How about we just say if it only goes up to 4.5%? Is that okay with you? Because you and I were kind of conservative people, let's be conservative. Fair
Yeah,
enough?
fair enough.
All right. We're also going to compare in real estate to the stock market, but I'm going to come back to that. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
Okay. So if you buy a house for 850, you put down $85,000, your interest rate 6.125, your 30-year principal and interest is 46.48 a month. You hold the property 10 years. There's a 4.5% appreciation rate. This is where you're going to be. So now your house is going to be worth in 10 years based on this. And of course, there's no guarantees, right? There's no guarantees in this, but this is, and I can show you this. We can play around with the numbers. Your house can be worth 1,320,000 and change. Your equity appreciation, 470,000. Your mortgage pay down, that's $122,000. And, Debbie, you're very sophisticated. Every time you write a check, you're paying down the principal. You know what that is? That's forced savings. So out of your payment, $122,000 of your payment is actually going back to you in principal reduction. There's your total equity. There's your total gain. And look, what is your return on this investment, Debbie? How much is that?
197.3%.
Yes. And
Wow.
what is your monthly return?
4,939.
$4,939.
4,939 every month.
That's the amount that your home is going up every month. And let's scroll back up. How much is your house payment?
4648.
How does that make you feel?
Wow. So I'm earning long term more than I'm paying monthly.
That's exactly right. Now, I told you that because we want to help you with finances, I wanted to compare this to the S&P 500. So you didn't buy this house, you continued renting, you put your $85,000 and you put it in the S&P, and the S&P that goes up. It's 9 point over the last many years. It's a little over 9%. We're going to say 10, but let's even be ultra conservative. Oh, it's 9.42% since if you put your money in the S&P since 1875, it'd be 9.42. If you put it in since 1975, it's 12.2. So let's just meet in the middle. Let's say it's 11%. You know what the good news is? You'd have $85,000 in 10 years, you'd have $241,000 in stock. That's the value, right? But here's your real estate and look at the difference. If you put it in the stock market, you gain 241, real estate 677. That's an increase of $436,000. By the way, Debbie, as you know, last time I checked, we can't have our family build memories, have a roof over our head, and live in our stock portfolio, right?
That's right.
Okay. So then we go through. So, Debbie, now to kind of sum this all up, I want you to understand this. So, here's the Utah appreciation. Here's the leverage. Now, you're pretty sophisticated. I think you understand leverage. So you always want to assume that, and you say like they already know, but then you explain it. So it sounds like I think you already understand this, but when you put $85,000 in the stock market, your leverage is 1 to 1. But at 10% down, your leverage is 10 to 1. By the way, if you put 5% down, your leverage would be 20 to 1. Okay? Obviously, your mortgage and your HOA, a lot of those things are also going to save you a ton of money in taxes, right? And then you have the forced savings. And then you know what the best thing is, Debbie? When you sell your house and you have gained $470,000 of appreciation because you're married, that is all tax-free money. So these are all the bonuses of real estate, right? And then, um, so that's really where we want to focus on. But sometimes Debbie says, well, I think I'm going to wait. Anyone ever hear that? Put in chat if anybody has said, I'm going to wait. If Debbie says, I'm going to wait, Debbie, say that. Debbie? Oh, you're muted.
I muted because they thought there was some feedback going on.
Oh,
So, David, this is great. I love it. You're super professional. Totally will use you, but we need to wait a bit. I'm just not feeling super certain about the market, the world right now, and I
Debbie.
just feel more comfortable if I wait.
Debbie, we hear this over and over. So what is the number one reason or number two reason that you want to wait?
I just
What do most people say, gang?
economy
Sometimes economy, okay, but the economy is pretty
save
strong.
save more money.
They want to save more down payment is
Mhm.
number one. And number two is they want to wait till interest rates. So then I ask you, so how long do you want to wait? And you just say a year.
Yeah,
What are you waiting for? And
I
you're going to say, I'd like interest rates to go to 5.5. I set you up. So we also have this cost of waiting tool. I don't have time to spend, but I say, so you put in here 12 months, you put the future interest rate that she's hoping for, and raise your hand if you think interest rates are going to be at 5.5% in 1 year, and then now put them down because it's not, right? But it doesn't matter. You go through the whole scenario. This cost of waiting tool shows you the difference, and I'm not going to spend time, but if the price of the home goes up, you're going to pay 38,000 more for the home. You're going to have $3,800 more down payment. The good news, Debbie, you're going to save 26,000 in interest, but your equity at the end of the year is going to cost you an additional $36,000. And here's this. So I don't want to focus on this, but I want you to know that that's in there.
I think a lot of the terrific lenders that many of you here use, and I see a lot of people I know, and I happen to know Envoy Mortgage because we do coach them, and I know they have this fabulous on their main website cost of waiting calculator. Many of your lenders have that cost of waiting calculator. Definitely something to focus on. And by the way, Cassie, we're not selling anything today, so David's just sharing what he has built. So unfortunately, you can't buy them from him, but you can watch this again and work on this, as you choose. And I don't know that you have to have the fancy calculator necessarily that's so incredible because
Well,
you
and at the end, Drew was going to say, this we can't give this calculator. This took so much time and effort to build, but there's basically a kind of a thing that we have that we could help you do this yourself. So, but let's keep going.
and David, we have just about seven
I
minutes.
know. That's why I'm trying to hurry.
That is
So, so here's the bonus ask, right? So you go through this, and while they're still thinking, Debbie, what are you thinking in your head, right? This one I want to give you a bonus. You know what I say? So Debbie, as a bonus too, when you choose me to be your buyer's agent, exclusive buyer's agent, I want to give you one more thing, if that's okay with you. I want to make sure that we get you, or we negotiate, or we buy you a free 1 year home warranty when you buy a house through with us. Is that okay?
Yep, that's okay.
Okay. Now, you got to understand, well, first of all of you know, well, the seller almost always pays for the home warranty anyway, right? It just goes in the offer. And when you give a client something, or you do something for a client, but you don't explain it, gang, it has zero value, right? So you have to sell this, right? So we do that. And now we go to the third home. We show them the third home. And then, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to ask Debbie, so after you've done all this, Debbie, how committed are you thinking that did you just hit the jackpot and find a great agent? Or are you still thinking about the person that is, a part-time agent that you met, in your office, right? You're
No, I don't think I should use that part-time agent. I
exactly right. So
myself.
see, now I've earned to do, what am I going to do at the third home? I'm going to ask for the business.
Right.
So
And that could be writing an offer on the property and a
yes,
for agreement, or it could be they don't love the homes, but they're sold on you, and
that's right.
we're
So
getting.
then we ask a question. So Debbie, I showed you three homes. Which of these three homes do you really like the best?
They're all good, David. I'm just not sure that either any of them are exactly what I want. However,
Okay.
pretty close.
Okay. So we're going to do two really fast role plays. You're going to say number one, two, or three. Okay. So if you said, I like number one, Debbie, I pretty much knew that already because I know what you want. This fits all of our boxes. Let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and get the process started, and let's write an offer. And then we go into this whole thing that we talk um, about writing an offer. And this is a little controversial, so I'm going to share this up front. But we say, Debbie, writing an offer is not buying a house. It's just the first step. And what I like to do, Debbie, is write an offer, get it under contract, and then at that point, you get all the opportunity to buy that house. The seller has to sell you the house. But if there's anything that we find out that is devastating or is a showstopper, we can get out, right? So then that's where we go in and we train our agents to ask for the sale only 100% of the time. Now, Debbie, you say, I think I want to wait.
I want to wait.
You know what? I totally understand that. So, this is where, if they say they don't want to write an offer, you don't become pushy. You say this, okay, well, Debbie, I totally understand you want to look at some other homes, but what I've shown you, does this all sound good to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions for me about representing you as your exclusive buyer's agent?
No, no, not at
Okay.
this time.
Is this something we could help you with for your when you're ready to buy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
Now, they almost always say yes to this, gang. And at that point, Debbie doesn't have another agent.
Right.
She doesn't have a friend in the business. She doesn't whatever, right? You know who she has? She has me. And then that's where we go into getting the buyer agency signed. Okay. So, the next slide, Drew, we talked about if you have an agent, I'm going to wait, or I'm going to wait for prices to drop, or they wanted more information on that. But at the end, we got 5 minutes left for Q&A. So I just want you, but before we do it, I want you to do this one thing, gang. Everybody, listen up. Do this one thing. Ask the three framing questions on all of your next buyer conversations, and especially before you show them, and don't show them a single house. That's it. This is a 2-minute change that when you do this and you do it well, it'll be the highest leverage thing that you can potentially do to make more money. And if you have a current buyers that you're working with, and they have now that this is new to you, you call them up. Debbie, you know what? When I met you, I'm so sorry. I don't think I showed you about how buyers build wealth or the exact process. Would it be okay if I set up a Zoom meeting with you to go over that? And then the last thing I'm going to say, and then we'll open up, is this is not just for buyers. You can use it with sellers, especially when you're working with a seller who's going to also buy something. And gang, you won't believe it. You think all investors know what they're doing? Some do, some don't. But if you show this to an investor, you will be their client forever because they know that you know what you're talking about from an investment standpoint. Investors are analytical, they love the math, they love this stuff, and it reframes like the whole purchase as an investment. So with this, I'm going to end you with this. You show them that you're the professional realtor and advisor. You're not just an ad agent. This is where the magic happens. All right. So let's go ahead and open it up for questions. And I know we only have a few minutes, 2, 3 minutes. Anybody?
And I see they had a lot of just objections. And I think, waiting for prices to go down, all those were in answer, find the perfect house. I believe a lot of that can be addressed in that cost of waiting and the risk of, you know, is there a perfect house? One of the things I always like to talk to them about, David, is how much money are they actually throwing away on the rent of their current place, right? If they are renters, which is why this is so
Oh,
powerful.
yeah, for rent. I mean, we'd say, Debbie, you know how much the interest rate is on renting? It's 100%.
Percent. Yeah.
6.125 is better.
So
All
David
right.
talked about something, and I don't know anything about this, so I'm not going to something about the tool, something about when they were asking about the calculator, and you said you had something to share.
Yeah, so Drew, this is a little complicated. You can go and hire somebody to put this together for you. But I asked Drew in the beginning, and we started out with a pro with something that if you guys are interested in this and you wanted to email him, there's a version that is it's not complicated. It doesn't need to be like manipulate. All this, Debbie, some of this stuff. I'm not smart enough to do this. Drew is, right? As you know, you've known Drew because he helped you when you were starting your coaching business, right? That's how long Debbie's known Drew. So, but if you have questions and you want to email either of us, we can try to help you with that.
Yeah,
And
I guess I'll just jump in real quick. We originally, before we built this into our internal Team OS website that you were looking at, originally it was just a fairly sophisticated spreadsheet.
okay,
So we do still have that spreadsheet template. Um, Obviously, it's got like our logo on it, and I think it references our team lender. So you'd have to edit it a little bit, but we're happy to share that spreadsheet. I can't easily share out the version of the tool that you were looking at because it's built into, like I said, our internal intranet site, and it's basically for our agents. But we're happy to share what we can, which is that sheet. So if you want to just shoot us an email, we're happy to do that.
And Nicole, in finding data state specific on appreciation, Chat GPT, there's also Area Pro is a great tool that does market study and data that you can subscribe to. It would not be that hard, to find it pretty quickly. Well, David, thank you so much. And Drew, thank you. And the email addresses are on the screen, guys. So take a look.
And one last thing, Debbie, what do we always teach them? Don't ever get off a phone. When you present this to anybody, whether it's on the phone or in person, what is the thing that you always do 100% of the time? You ask for a referral. Gang, so I'm going to show it. I'm going to tell you right now. So everybody listening to this, I'm David Lawson with the Lawson team. If you know anybody that wants to buy or sell in Utah, Salt Lake or Park City, please call me. I'd love to help them. And the thing is, I do this, Debbie, I do this at the end of every call, don't I? But it's partly because I get so much income out of referrals. But I want you all to know when you do this, and Debbie, if you said you want to wait, and then I ask you, hey, by the way, do you know anybody? What's the chance that Debbie's going to refer me? So anyway, don't forget that. Sorry, we went over 2 minutes, but
all right. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining. David, Drew, thank you so much. Everyone, it'll take about a day for you to get a copy of the recording. Go ahead, take a look at the screen, grab their emails, grab their phone number, take a quick picture. But if you miss it, it's going to be on the video that we sent you. All right, David, we'll talk soon. That was fabulous. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.